Skye Blakely has been one of the most promising young gymnasts in the world for a while now. The 17-year-old was a part of the team that won the gold medal at the 2022 Pan American Championships, and her performance stood out among her peers the most. However, her budding career has had a bit of a setback recently, and will that setback destroy her chances of entering the LA Olympics? Let's take a look. First up, how good is Skye Blakely? It was no shock to anyone when Skye Blakely popped up in the gymnastics scene and impressed everyone. After all, her older sister, Sloane Blakely, is a very successful gymnast herself and a part of the US women's national team. Skye has been competing in professional gymnastics competitions since 2018, back when she was only 13 years old. At the 2018 American Classic, she came in third as an all-rounder, right behind Kayla DiCello and Connor McLean. Skye continued to impress everyone in further competitions over the years, but it wasn't until 2021 that she became a senior elite. At the 2021 Winter Cup, she was first in the balance beam competition, marking her first major victory as a pro. Skye's major strength has always been the balance beam, but she's also believed to be one of the best young all-around gymnasts in the world right now. Sure, she's no Simone Biles yet, but she's still only 17 years old. She's expected to improve and reach new heights as an athlete, and of course, there's a lot of excitement around her because many of her fans believe she will win the Olympic gold one day. Believe it or not, she actually had a chance to enter the Olympics once. Back in 2021, Blakely was called up to the national team, where she would join her sister and enter the Olympic trials for the first time. If she could prove herself in the trials, she could have potentially made her way to the Tokyo Olympics to represent her country. Up next, how did Skye's Olympic trials go? Pretty much all eyes were on Skye Blakely in the lead up to the Olympic trials. She was one of the youngest athletes in the program, and many believed that she was even better than some of the adults. By this time, it was already public knowledge that Simone Biles would not be competing in the Olympics, and that meant Team USA desperately needed another player who could be her match. Even though finding someone of the same caliber as Biles would have been extremely difficult, at the end of the day, Skye was one of the team's best shots. However, during the warm-up stages of the Olympic trials, Blakely injured herself while performing vaults. The injury was serious enough for her to withdraw herself from the trials before they even began. This was a major setback for Blakely. Not only did she miss out on her first opportunity to represent Team America, but she also now gained a reputation for being injury-prone, despite it being her first injury. As we've seen with so many athletes in the past, every single injury can be career-changing. Even if Skye recovered from this injury, it could very well come back one day to haunt her. Coming up, what sort of injury did Skye Blakely have? Skye Blakely recently opened up about the exact details of her gruesome injury, even though she's been trying to forget it for the past year now. She explained how, when the athletes at the Olympic trials were getting ready for the final stage of the warm-ups, she accidentally tripped over some equipment while running toward the vault. Blakely says that after she tripped, she experienced what may have been the worst pain of her life. She was fading in and out of consciousness, and her left elbow seemed as if it was completely crushed. She was escorted out of the training facility in tears. There was seemingly no chance of her coming back. Skye was later told that she required surgery on her elbow because of how serious the injury was, and that would be followed by several months, if not an entire year, of rehabilitation. Throughout this time, Blakely was not allowed to train or compete in any way. Blakely said that getting the surgery was a painful experience, but what came after was much worse. She had an extremely difficult time trying to stretch out her elbows. So much of the physical rehabilitation was focused on that part specifically. There was a chance that with all of this physiotherapy, Blakely could get rid of the pain one day. However, her chances of ever competing again were slim to none. There are very few examples of athletes coming back from an injury like this, but somehow, Skye Blakely managed to pull it off. Next, how did Skye Blakely return? As we already mentioned, Skye Blakely's recovery process was extremely challenging. She was under constant pain and stress, and to make matters worse, she was losing out on precious time that she could have spent training to become an even better athlete. But Blakely stuck to her recovery regimen and followed everything her doctors recommended. She was committed to recovery and made sure that an injury wouldn't get in the way of her becoming an Olympic champion one day. After 7 months of rehab, she was finally ready. She was no longer in pain, could fully stretch out her elbows with no problem at all, and her doctors gave her the thumb of approval to continue training. Blakely said that she had to completely relearn how to be a gymnast from the ground up. She learned how to do a cartwheel again, and then moved on to more difficult moves like walkovers and handstands, but she still did it. Her muscle memory probably played a huge role in helping her remember how to do everything, but when you consider the fact that she wasn't even able to fully extend her arm a few months before that, it's extremely impressive. Most importantly, Blakely was confident throughout the recovery process. She didn't let it get to her head, and she was always in contact with her sports physiologist just to make sure she remained mentally fit. She managed to prove all the naysayers wrong by returning from such an extreme injury, and now that she had successfully recovered, it was time for her to start competing again. Up next, what was Skye Blakely's first event after recovering from her injury? With Skye Blakely's relatively swift recovery, she was ready to compete in her first event since the setback. Fortunately for her, the 2022 Winter Cup was approaching. In the last Winter Cup, Blakely came in first during the balance beam competition, but failed to rank as an all-rounder. This was her shot to prove that this injury wasn't going to hold her back, and at the event, she surpassed everyone's expectations of her. During the Winter Cup, Skye Blakely came in third at the balance beam competition. While this may not have been as good of a result as last year, you have to remember that she hadn't competed in a major event in almost a year. In other competitions, Blakely performed even better than in last year's event. For example, she was the runner-up in the floor exercise competition, while last year she came in 8th. In the uneven bars competition, Skye Blakely ranked 7th, while last year she failed to even make the rankings. Another competition where she failed to make the rankings last year was the all-around competition, but this year she was the runner-up. What's even better is that we can see there's so much room for improvement. Skye has likely been a little rusty since she hasn't competed in so long, and once some of that rust wears off, she's going to be an even better athlete. But overall, Blakely proved the fact that the injury was not going to be a setback for her entire career. And finally, what's next for Skye Blakely? Once again, Skye Blakely has turned into one of the top gymnasts to watch in the US. It seems like she's back to square one and is one of the favorites to qualify for, and perhaps even win, the Olympic Games in Los Angeles that'll take place in 2024. Before that happens though, Blakely still has a lot of other competitions to focus on. Because of her impressive showing at the Winter Cup, Blakely was picked as one of the members of Team USA at the 2022 DTP Pokal Team Challenge. With Blakely's help, her team was able to bag the gold medal at the event. She was definitely one of the standout athletes at the event, and gold wouldn't have been possible without her. Following this, Blakely appeared at the Pan American Championships. There, she won a silver medal along with Team USA and 2 bronze medals for all-around and floor exercise competitions. She also appeared at the US National Championships, although she had less success this time around. But still, everyone can have an off day. She is set to compete in the World Championships for the first time in her life later this year. She previously competed in the Junior Championships, but now it's time for her to enter the big leagues. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Blakely could win gold at the 2024 Olympics? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.